welcome. My name is Mark Yerbury, and I'm the Managing Director, franchise owner for the Dale Carnegie business here in Quebec and Eastern Ontario. And I'm really grateful to be here this evening with you, and thank you very much for having Carnegie in to share some time, some of your valuable time with you. And big thank you to Ali for also my good friend Ali for bringing me here this evening as well. Ali and I have had a chance to get to know each other, I'd say over the past 2 years almost, Ali, now. 2 years. Is it 3 hours?
2 years, yeah.
Time zooming by. And, so Ali's been involved in some of our programs, the Carnegie program, and in fact he may tell you himself, or he may have already told you, he's taken the Dale Carnegie program a number of times. He was an assistant a number of times, just really totally committed to this process and developing his own skill set. And he also has become a Dale Carnegie trainer, so he's taken the training to be able to give the Dale Carnegie course to other people to pass along what he's benefited from. And so it's a testament to your dedication to that continually self-improvement. So again, thanks for that. This evening we have, as I mentioned, quite a few things to cover, and it'll be a fairly interactive session. So we'll, rather than just be up here talking about how wonderful Dale Carnegie is and how great we are and how you should all be doing our programs, we'll work at giving you a bit of a Dale Carnegie experience. So really here tonight, we're not here to sell anybody anything, we're really here to just kind of show you what the Dale Carnegie process is about. And then at the end, of course, if you have any questions about the Dale Carnegie program, you'll be welcome to ask. So the first question I'd have for you is, who has heard of Dale Carnegie? Okay.
Well, I read his books too.
Okay, what books did you read?
Well, you know, there are two that are very famous and popular in our country. Okay. One, I don't even know what it's called in English. I read the Persian translation about, how to overcome stress. And the other one I read in English, How to Make Friends and Influence People. That was a fantastic book. I mean, it was written God knows how many years ago, but it kind of changed my life. I mean, I read it just once, but I can still remember the lines of the book. Okay. They were so impressive for me, at least.
It's a nice testament to that particular book. Dale Carnegie actually did write that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, in 1934 it was. And in fact, this year we're celebrating our 100th anniversary. And so we've just relaunched the book called How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. So it's very current, very with the time. They talk about social media in there and about all of the technologies and how it's impacting the way we communicate. So it'll be a great read. If you have a chance, pick it up. We highly encourage you to read that. Thank you for that. And someone else, I think a gentleman in the back?
Yeah, the first book I read was my mom's book. I was 11 years old at the time. I read the Persian translation. And yeah, it was I don't know in English the title. It was like How to Make Friends, and then I read the other book, How to Overcome Stress.
And how did it help you?
I loved it. At that time, I remember I had my own notes. I was a kid, and I was reading my notes, but I was studying that like a school book, like the same way I studied.
It's so interesting, eh? At 11 years old, to be able to read a book like that and to actually take away. That's what's interesting about the notions that we find in this Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People book. It's really universal, and it applies to all ages. Right, we're always in a state of change, and the way I think today was really different than the way I thought 10 years ago, and even more different than 20 years ago, and you wouldn't want to know what I was thinking 30 years ago. So I mean, just to say that wherever we are in our life, this information is very valuable for us to become tools that can be partly a way of life for us. So thanks for sharing that as well. I'll tell you a little bit about Dale Carnegie. Just before that, we'll talk about our agenda. Quickly, when we look at this agenda, there's a WPTINA. We'll just talk about the WP for now. The W stands for want. So we'll look at tonight about what motivates us to do anything. Why would we want to improve our performance? Why would we want to improve our skill set around human relations, around our leadership, around self-confidence? So we'll take a look at that as part of the process tonight. And then the next, the P stands for, is for planning. So we know with anything in life, like you mentioned about reading the books, it's great to read a book, a self-help book or a book that's showing me how to do something. If I don't apply it, right, if I don't take it and really go out there and work at it, and if I don't have a plan of how I'm going to put that into place, well, usually not much takes place. And if anyone here has done any training in their lives, short-term training, half days, 1 day, that kind of thing, typically what will happen, we'll get a knowledge dump, we'll get all this information, and then I'll go back to my office and say, wow, that was a great course, that was a great piece of information. And I'm really excited about it. It's amazing. And I put the book on my shelf, and what happens? I just go back to my regular way of being, because I haven't really had a chance to internalize it, to practice it, and I had no plan of what I wanted to do with this information. And so we'll talk a little bit about that process as well. And then we'll come back to the T&A later, when TINA later. We're looking at the Dale Carnegie alumni, just to give you an idea of some of the people who have taken this program. You might recognize some of those names. One of the names that stands out for me is Warren Buffett. And how many of you here have heard of Warren Buffett? No, Warren Buffett. Okay, we have a few people. Well, Warren Buffett would be considered the wealthiest man on the planet today. Maybe not with the way the market's been going lately, but he would be in, let's say, the top 5 wealthiest people on the planet, and probably one of the greatest philanthropists who lives today. And he does enormous amounts of things for all kinds of organizations, and gives away tons and tons of money every year for various causes. And Mr. Buffett is a Dale Carnegie graduate. And Mr. Buffett took the Dale Carnegie course when he was 20 years old. And he said, when I took that course, he said, it changed my life, just as you said before. And he said, out of all the diplomas I have, out of all the certificates I have, he says, I only have one on my wall. And he says, it's my Dale Carnegie diploma. And so we're proud to say that. But more importantly, it comes from a man who really has had tremendous success, tremendous life experience, has managed billions of dollars, and has managed thousands of people, and every year about 50,000 people go to his annual review just to hear him and hear about how he is successful, what he's done to be successful. So we're very proud of the fact that Mr. Buffett has taken this program. Now, if you go on YouTube and you just type in Warren Buffett and Dale Carnegie, you'll have a chance to hear Mr. Buffett in his own words talking about the experience he's had. Bruni Surin, for instance, he's an Olympic runner and lives here in Quebec. Cora Siflutis is, have you heard of the restaurant Chez Cora? Chez Cora, so she's one of our graduates. Laurent Lemaire, who is president, CFO of Cascades, who's one of the world's largest producers of paper products and what have you. So just to give you an idea of the type of people who have taken this program and the impact it's had on their lives. So we talk a bit about Dale Carnegie. Originally started in 1912. Mr. Carnegie started giving public speaking lessons at a local YMCA. And he'd charge everybody about $5 a night, come in. And he quickly realized that, he could teach people how to speak in public, but once he had kind of gone through the technical part, he really didn't have much else to say. And he needed people to come back every week so he could support his family, and so we had to make it really interesting, so we had to find ways to get people more engaged in the process. And so over time he realized that people love to tell stories, they love to talk about the issues they had in their life and how they were dealing with those things, the problems that they had and how they managed those problems. And people began to realize, wow, we're quite similar in many ways. So people were learning from each other and from each other's life experiences. And it's incredible when you have a group of people, 25 people in a room, and I understand a little bit about your group that comes together and you read books and discuss the books, and so you really have some meaningful conversations. Well, just from those experiences, we know they can be very impactful in our day-to-day life when we're around people that can contribute to us. And so Carnegie over the years developed this program, and now today this program runs for 9 weeks, and it has all different types of human relations elements involved in it. As I mentioned, he wrote the book, How to Influence People in 1936. So let's give you a piece of a look at that. And then How to Stop Worrying and Start Living was a book that he wrote a little bit later on. Now, if you did nothing else but just got these two books and read these two books, and you heard somebody in the room already say, and Ali would probably testify to that as well, that it could change your life. And it could give you some tools and some ideas and some notions that when applied are just really phenomenal, how it can impact your relationships with others, and the impact it can have on your career, on your business, on just about every element of your life. Now, that's a bit about the history. So today, mentioned 86 countries, 30 languages now. Over 1 million people a year take some kind of Dale Carnegie training. And so that also means that we've had over 7 million people take a Dale Carnegie program. And when we talk about the over 400 of the Fortune 500 clients, like locally here we do with companies like Denon and Bombardier, and Future Electronics, all of the banks pretty much, the Caisse Desjardins. So any company really you can think of, there's a good chance that they've sent people through our programs here. We've been in Quebec for over 60 years now, so well implanted in the marketplace here. Just before we get into the changes element, I'd like to take a moment and do a little piece on how we can introduce ourselves. And when we think about, and we'll do a little bit about networking as well. When we first come into an environment, whether a social environment or meeting someone for the first time, there's a way to introduce ourselves. So we're going to give you a few things tonight that you can take away just from tonight, and you'll be able to apply, and you'll be able to keep these forever, and may also bring you some value in your life. So one of the things is introducing ourselves. Now, I was 2 weeks ago, I was at the John F. Kennedy Vocational School in Montreal, and there was a group of about 30 people in the room, and these were students, so they were between the age of 20 and 30, let's say, and very eager, taking specific vocational training around working in the hotel industry or sales or being administrative assistants, those types of employments. And we talked about how we introduce ourselves. Well, there was 3 teachers in that room, and these are teachers. One of the teachers actually teaches communication and been in that type of work for most of her life. And this woman was in her 50s, wonderful person. And we did this exercise about introducing ourselves. And she said to me after the session we were done, she said, you know, she says, that one thing, how to introduce myself, if I would have known that 25 years ago, she says, I wonder if it would have changed something. Because she was thinking back in her life when she was in situations and how she was actually, she never thought about how do I introduce myself to allow the other person to remember my name. So let me ask you, why do you think it would be important or valuable to introduce ourselves in a way that allows the other person to really get our name? Why would you think?
Well, because of first impression.
Okay.
And we always remember the first time that someone meets someone.
So that first impression is meaningful and powerful. Someone told me once, I've been around business for about 35 years now, and I've always heard we only have one chance to make a first impression. So thank you for that. Someone else? By the silence, it sounds like we may have not, and it would be perfectly okay to say we've not taken a lot of time to think about how we introduce ourselves to other people. And yet, as we've heard, it's really important, because let's say, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but I've been in places where I've had let's say a networking meeting or a business meeting, and I walk in and it's a room of about 200 people, and there's about 10 tables there, and we're all sitting down, 8 to 10 people around the table. And then we sort of introduce ourselves quickly. Some people give their full name, some people give their first name, some people don't give their name at all. And so now I'm sitting there saying, okay, I'm in a networking or a business meeting. I've got 8 people around the table. I maybe picked up 2 names. And I work in this business, so I'm saying I'm aware that I want to get names. So I get 2 names. And then let's say later on in that morning, I ran into that person again at the meeting, so I don't know their name. So we've seen each other. We know, we recognize each other, but I don't know your name. So how does the conversation go? There's no depth to the conversation because I don't know who you are. I really don't know who you are. I know your face, but that's about as far as it goes. And so just having the person's name, remembering it, all of a sudden changes that relationship. And then, has it ever happened to you where you've met someone at a party or socially, and then you meet them in the street a month later, and they say, oh, hi Ali, how are you? It's nice to see you. And then Ali's looking, hi, I'm good, how are you? But you don't remember, Ali doesn't remember my name. Now how does that make you feel? Does that ever happen to anybody? Yeah, it's up to a few of us, yeah. Yeah, so here now I'm having a conversation, you've remembered my name, but I don't remember yours, and we're talking, and what's going on in my head? I'm thinking, oh, if I only can remember his name. I mean, he remembered my name, I can't remember. So everything we're talking, that's not even going in, I'm not even hearing the conversation. And then when the person leaves, the rest of the day, I'm thinking, oh, what's his name again? Yeah? So imagine if I could actually remember names and let people get to know my name. So we'll just do a little piece on introducing. So next time you're coming into a situation, environment, think about it and see if you can give your name in a way that the person can remember. So we have what we call, it's called pause, part, punch. So here's how it goes. Pause, part, and punch. Excuse the word, right? Okay, so sometimes I can introduce myself. So we meet for the first time, and I come in and say, hi, my name is Mark Yerbury. You get that?
Yes.
What did you hear?
Nothing.
Said who?
You said, my name is Mark something.
There was a berry in it.
And a berry, some kind of berry. So thank you. And so that's often what happens. Or I'll come in and I'll meet you and I'll say, hi, how are you? Good. Still nothing, right? So, hi, my name's Mark.
Hi.
So we still don't know who I am, right? Because I haven't really given it to you in a way that you could hear and understand. So when we say pause, part, punch, what that means is when we meet someone for the first time, we say, hi, my name is, I pause, my name is, so now the person's listening. And I say, Mark, and then I leave a little part. My name is Mark, little space, which we call a part. Yerbury. See, I'm punching the last name, Yerbury. So, hi, my name is Mark Yerbury.
How do you do?
So, who'd like to come up here and give it a shot? One volunteer? Please, come on up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mariam Farshadfar.
Mariam
Farshadfar.
Farshadfar. Okay, so that was good. So punch the last name a little bit. That was good. Okay.
Hi, my name is Mariam.
Okay, my name is, and then a little part.
Mariam Farshadfar.
Very good. You guys get that? Okay, so thank you, Mariam. Thank you. So that is pretty basic, right? And pretty straightforward. And so think about it and use it next time. And just let the person hear your name. And it'll make a big difference. And then what typically will happen will be, hi, my name is Mark.
Mark, my name is Ali.
Okay? Hi, my name is Mark Yerbury.
Hi, my name is Martin Melanie.
Thank you. So did you guys get that? So people give you what you give them. So hi, my name is Mark to Ali. He answered back Ali. And we gave our full name, And so I give my full name, you give me your full name back. And that's what people generally do. So if I don't give my name, you won't give me your name. There's a good chance if I give you my first name, you'll give me the first name, and if I give you the full name, you'll give me the full name back. And once again, why is it good, why is it important for not only us to give the first name, but also for us to remember the other person's name. And who here considers themselves good at remembering names? Just by raise of hands. You're pretty good at it?
Yeah, but not just names of people, you know. I'm good at remembering information,
yeah.
But when I focus on them, it's important for me, you know.
Thank you. And that's such an important point you're making, because I don't want to know your name just for the, you know, the trick of knowing your name. I want to know you, the person. So it's about taking genuine interest in the other person. And so that's when we get the person's name, and we have a whole session just on name remembering, and because it's that important. And I was at an MBA meeting at one of the universities here last year. There's 60 graduates sitting in a room just like this, and I said, how many consider them? No, these are people that are either in the business world or going out into the business world. These are leaders. These are people that are making things happen. How many are good at remembering names? How many hands do you think went up? 2 hands went up out of 60. So, and that's so fundamental. Mr. Carnegie says, one of his principles is, the person's name is to that person the sweetest, most important sound in any language. So can you imagine? It's the most important thing, and yet very few people really take the time to you know, give their name and get the other person's name. So that's a little piece for you to take away tonight. The other thing we'll do, I think you probably know, some of you know each other, and some of you know each other better than others. So we'll have an opportunity tonight to practice on something to get to know each other a little better, and it's what we call a conversation stack. So if you'll go along with me with this, we'll show you what we call a conversation stack that will allow you to, any time now, from here forward, you go into a meeting, you go into a social gathering, you go into a business environment, you go into a university, wherever you are, you'll be able to use this technique to enhance your conversation with other people. Would that be of value to you? No?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin. I'll give you a series of pictures. So the first one is, just picture this, okay? This is a giant 3x5 business card. Okay, it's a big green business card, this big, okay? And on it, your name is on it. Okay, you got the picture? And on the flip side, you turn the card around, it's the other person's name. So we got the picture? Okay, on top of that big green business card, there's a house. There's a large brick house. It's a red brick house sitting on top of that business card. We got it? Now in the front of the house is a big picture window, and when you look inside the window, you see a family inside that house. And there's some people moving around, there's a dog jumping up and down, there's a few kids that are roaming around. So you see the inside of the house? You see that picture? Okay, on top of the house there's a chimney. And out of the chimney there's a big giant rubber working glove. You know those Hydro-Quebec guys that put those work gloves on? It's a big giant orange work glove coming out. So what was the first item?
Business card.
Okay, and what was on the card?
Name.
Yes. And whose name was on the front? And who's on the other side?
Other person.
Okay, and what was on top of the card?
Big house.
Yes. Red brick house, yes, thank you. And in the front? What was inside? Very good. And coming out of the chimney, do you remember what it was?
Rubber glove.
A big rubber work glove. Very good. Only a couple more items. So just think of the glove now. There's a flying over the glove, just touching on the fingers. There's a giant jumbo 747 jet that's flying over it. Just flying over and touching it. Do you see that? Now coming out of the back, there's a cargo door, and the cargo door is open. And falling out of the cargo door, there's some books, and there's some CDs, there's some artwork, there's a racket, a tennis racket, and some golf clubs falling out. You see that? Okay. And now on top of the plane itself, there's this big giant light bulb big yellow light bulb with a question mark in it. Question mark. Okay, so let's quickly go over the items again. First item?
With our names.
Yes.
The other side, the other person's name.
Thank you. On top? Yes.
With a window. Inside we need the members.
Yes, yes, yes. Very good. And what was happening?
Chimney. Pipe coming out. Chimney.
And?
Jet.
Very good. Coming out of the back?
Tennis rackets.
Tennis rackets, yes. CDs. What else? Books. So all those items. And on top? On top?
Light bulb.
Big light bulb. Yes, yes, yes. Yellow light bulb. Yes. Good. So those are the elements. Those are the pieces of that conversation stack. Now, what the heck does all that mean? Okay. Let's put some sense to this thing now. So the business card is basically it represents your name and the other person that you're meeting, right? So that's the first thing we talked about. Let's get the name. The second thing, the house piece. Well, what could that represent?
Your family.
Life.
Do you have family? Where do you live?
Your everyday life.
Yeah, yeah. What part of town do you live in? How long have you lived there? So the house represents where you live, and then the people inside the house. Do you have, what type of family? Do you have a family? Are you here on your own?
Colleagues.
Yeah. Everyday friends, colleagues. So it's conversation about people in our lives. And when we talk about the glove coming out,
Your job.
yeah.
Your profession.
Yeah. What kind of work do you do? What profession are you in? And the plane, what might that represent?
Aims.
Process.
Sorry?
Travel.
Aims and purposes.
Travel, yes. And what were they?
Aims and purposes. Whatever you want to
Goals.
Yeah.
Goals.
Yes, yes. Travel, yes. Purposes, yes. And the pieces coming out of the back?
Whatever you use to
Your
get to
hobbies.
that purpose.
Yeah, well, interest, right? I mean, do you like tennis?
Hobbies.
What hobbies? Do you like to read? What kind of books you like? And so that, and then on top the light bulb with the question mark.
Your
Just-
ideas.
Yeah.
Where to go?
Where to go, ideas, the topics of general interest, mutual interest. So that's the stack right there. So when you're in a conversation with someone, you can actually use that as a trigger. So it's not about interrogating the other person, right? We said we want to take genuine interest in getting to know the other person, get the person's name, and then we're having a conversation. Has it ever happened to anybody where we're in a networking situation? And let's say it's it's a 7 o'clock meeting, and you're there at 6:30, and it's in the morning, and you're maybe just getting going with your day, and there's all kinds of people there, and you're there to network. Then all of a sudden, we start having a bit of a conversation, and after a moment or so, the conversation dries up, and then what happens?
Another subject.
Sorry?
The other subject. You choose the other subject.
Yeah, well, you could then use a stack to begin to understand, to ask the questions, and rather than just, so you're here today, how are you enjoying this meeting that we're going to have? And then it's sort of, okay, then you're sort of looking around, don't know what else to say. So this is an opportunity to really be able to drill down on the conversation, get to know the person, and then from there we build our relationships. So let's take, I've been talking way too much already, so let's take a couple of minutes and we're going to get together two by two, and let's practice this. We'll take 2 minutes for one person to ask the questions using this technique, and then after 2 minutes the other person will ask the questions. Okay, so what I'd encourage you to do,
Hopefully they're going to be talking to people that they don't know.
well, that's yes. Just to add to that, please get with someone that you don't know or that you don't know that well, and maybe would like to get to know better. Okay. So let's see. We're 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 in the room. So Ali, if you wouldn't mind participating in this process, that'll give 14. So that'll give us. So please stand. Find someone that you can partner up with, and when I say go, we'll take 2 minutes to practice this process. Please, everybody. Well, let's talk about the world, for instance. What are some of the changes we've seen that are pretty significant in the last 12 to 18 months?
the changes in the Middle East?
So it's okay.
Arab Spring.
Sorry?
The Arab Spring.
Sorry?
The Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring, the Tunisia,
revolution.
change of government.
Yeah, all the changes and all the changes in global political. Okay, I'll just say political changes. Okay.
Plunge in the stock markets.
We know who has money.
Stock market plunge. It's crazy roller coaster ride that we're on.
Occupying
Occupy
Wall
Wall
Street.
Street.
Sorry, Occupy
Wall
Occupy Wall Street. Yeah, it's making the news like crazy these days. Absolutely. Something else?
It's getting cold.
Sorry?
It's getting cold.
Big change in the last season. Okay. Change and change in the season.
I think it means global warming.
Okay. Well, we talk about changes and we laugh, except we know when the seasons change, it does have a physiological impact on how well we're sleeping, on our diet, on right. All of these things are impacted. We don't often talk about them, but they can impact our performance at some level. Thank you. Someone else?
Is Steve Jobs there?
Steve Jobs.
Oh, Steve Jobs' death. Yes. Well, that's
It's
very
great. All
impactful.
people are united.
I don't know.
It
If it's,
unified people. I mean, everybody was kind of sharing his picture.
Yeah, that's right.
absolutely, sure. It makes the world seem that much smaller when we all we open up our Apple and we see Steve Jobs for the last month, and absolutely, we have all that in common. Someone else? Changes that we've experienced? How about in the, let's say, how about in the industries that you work in? What kind of changes have you seen?
Which industry?
I'm sorry?
Which industry is this?
Well, whatever industries you're related to, what kind of work are you in?
I'm a laser technician.
Laser technician?
Yes.
Okay, and what industries do you serve?
It's a different type of communication and also different laser for astronomy.
So what?
This is the
What's
I know that it's not. It's okay, but it's not like very good.
Okay, so what's happening in the industry? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it staying the same?
It's the same.
It's pretty stable.
Yeah.
The workforce stable. Everything pretty well the same there. People are
So, well, I don't work in sales department.
Yeah.
So, based on my experiences, there are going up, increasing orders, but not so much.
okay. So it's pretty well stable.
Yeah.
So the changes you've seen in the last 12 months, everything's pretty well stayed the same. Okay, and what about the competition? Is there any more competition in the industry?
Yeah, there are. In communication, I know that there is a big competition.
Okay. You're seeing more competition or less, or what's happening in your sector?
It's more like, well, I work only 1 year, so
Yes,
that's compared to last
okay,
year.
great, okay. So you're fairly new in the company?
Yeah, nearly.
Okay. So the company was hiring a year ago, is that what was happening?
Yes.
Hiring a few people?
Yeah.
So you'd say
Since
then
it's,
maybe we could say your company was growing at some level?
In some parts, yes, but in some parts going down because there are
Okay.
different sections.
So it depends.
Balance is still going on.
Some
but-
stuff going up, some stuff
Exactly.
going down. So there has been some things that you've observed in the last 12 months in your organization that you've seen happen. So that a hire, you're in a new position, some markets doing well, some not so, more competition. Anybody else experiencing things like that at in their organizations? Yes.
The VP of the department I work for got changed.
Okay.
The previous VP resigned and a new VP is now hired, and she has a new vision, a whole different vision. A few directors got fired, and then I will have a new manager in a few weeks.
Okay. So
a lot of changes.
So personnel change, you've seen, okay, I'll just make a note of that. Personnel change. And how has that impacted the organization with all those changes in personnel?
This is only one of the departments within the organization, so it may not impact the whole organization in a bigger picture, but it does impact the group that I work for.
Okay.
So
how many are
it
you?
will impact my job, I'm sure.
Okay. How many are you in your group?
In my immediate group, we are 7 people.
Okay.
But in the department, there are, I don't know, a few hundred people.
Good, thanks. Thank you for that. Someone else? Change that you've seen in the companies that you're working in, or the organizations you're involved in? Any changes? Pretty much stable, no changes?
Well, I actually funny. Well, based on the conversation that I had, I realized that I'm new to the place that I am right now. But I study I'm a student at the University of Montreal, and it's a French-based university. But because of the large number of international students, right now they are changing to be more bilingual. But they have been French-based, and they have been so strict about it. But right now they are trying to be more friendly with students that they don't know French.
Okay.
So that's a funny thing. Still, most of the forums, most of the website, everything is in French.
Yes.
But at least in the offices, you can find people who know English.
Okay.
But before that, it was like everything French-based.
That's pretty significant change.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say more openness. Would you say that's a result of more openness on the part of the university, or what do you think's driving that?
Something about because they need students. I mean, it's something like they are offering something, but the main reason is that because they need the students that pay them.
So it becomes like a competitive issue for them
exactly.
at some point.
Like
Okay.
a concession.
I'm sorry?
It's more like a concession.
Okay. A concession they're making to attract students. So businesses, and would you say universities today they need to operate more like a business than ever before? So we'll say they need to be make more concessions, and we also said
Or maybe culturally open.
more openness.
Yeah, exactly.
So more openness, and we said also more. There's more competitors out there, in most areas. We're dealing with a lot more competitors, and so we've seen. We've already. How about you, Ali? Any changes in your industry, in the financial sector, some of the things you might have experienced?
A lot of more regulations.
More regulations.
Absolutely.
Okay. So more regulations.
And which
Financial services.
Okay. And so some of these changes we've looked at here, are we feeling any impact of those changes? Like when you talked about in your department where you have those change in personnel, what's the impact on would you say, those changes?
Because the new VP has a new vision, she already changed all of the processes based on which we have to work and deliver our deliverable. So I do feel the change very. It's very. The change is very powerful for me because the whole process changed. Before we used to do something else, and now stop that, begin something new.
And how those changes impacting you and your team? Is it creating any discomfort, or is it creating any?
For some
problems?
people, it does create some level of discomfort because there are people who are not that adaptable to change.
Okay.
There are a few more that are more flexible.
Okay.
So I believe it depends on the personality of the people as well.
Okay. So and that's what we understand, is that people don't necessarily resist change. It's how change is imposed on us that will sometimes push back on. So thank you for that. So we can see a sort of a sense of discomfort when we talk about some of the changes and some of the challenges that we're facing today. Can create a certain level of stress for people. We know right now in Canada there's about it's about $51 billion a year are spent on issues that are relating to stress, burnout, lack of engagement in the workplace. So $51 billion is a significant amount for a country to spend each year on health issues related to stress in the work environment. So for a lot of people today, working in this current reality that we live in can create a certain amount of stress. So we know stress is important. We have to have stress in our life to move things forward. And stress, for instance, we know engineers tell us that you have to have a certain amount of stress for a bridge to stay up, right? That's important. And if you ever done any workout, muscle toning or anything else, you have to put stress on the muscle. You have to stress the muscle for it to grow and build. So the same thing holds true, right, for us in the workplace and our day-to-day lives. A certain amount of stress is important. Except too much stress, we hear people today, we go into companies or that we're always asked to do more with less, and we're downsizing, we're adding more responsibility to people. People are working, seems like longer days, longer hours. That's the experience I'm having when I go to a company. May not be your reality, which is perfectly okay. For a lot of people that's in the workplace, that is reality, and some of it is due to those kinds of changes within organizations. So what we find here is that out of all these changes and challenges, we find ourselves kind of in the middle of all of this stuff, all of these changes. I mean, I listened to the radio today, and a financial guy on CJD, and he was saying in these unprecedented roller coaster markets that we really have totally unsure about what the future holds. That creates a lot of uncertainty for people, and so a lot of people are feeling this downward pressure on them. And all of this downward stuff, that's sort of, we're not suggesting that we're the center of the universe here, but we are saying that we're feeling the impacts of a lot of these fast-paced changes that we live in. And it's not slowing down, and you find that it's accelerating even, the amount of information that's being sent to us constantly, and that we have to sort through and whatnot. I know I talk to people that say sometimes they're getting 300-400 emails a day in the work that they're doing. They're just trying to manage through that. So the question is we have here is, if this is the current reality for a lot of people, what can we do individually to push back against this and actually look for the opportunities that exist in these changing times? Because we know when times change, there's also huge opportunities that are created, n'est-ce pas? And when we think about technology alone and the Web 2.0, what's happening out there and the opportunities that people are being able to take advantage of. So how do we grow in this kind of chaotic situation? So let's take a look at that. We talked a bit about these challenges, and let's talk about capacity. So our greatest opportunity right now is really to build on our capacity, our ability to handle more, our ability to take more on, our ability to be higher performing in these kind of circumstances and these kinds of realities that we're living in. So again, that's a sort of a visual of what we hear people are living today. And so with our Dale Carnegie program, we actually work with people so that we can then create the half-full glass environment. And so that being said, when we look at how do we get ourselves into this mindset, we look at the various areas that we develop with people through the Dale Carnegie process that helps you actually enhance your capacity. So we look at all of these various elements in terms of selling our ideas, being more effective presenters, better at negotiating, listening skills. Why is it so important that we learn how to listen? People say we're talking back and forth constantly. Are we really getting the other person? So all of these areas are areas where, as we improve these areas, we can really make a difference in in our lives and our relationships. Enthusiasm, you know, Mr. Carnegie said it's the greatest secret of success, and the less known is our enthusiasm, our level of enthusiasm that we bring to us each day when we head out into the workplace. Just being enthusiastic and showing up that way can really change our reality fairly quickly. So those are all of the elements that we look at. And we have what's called the 5 drivers of success. So we'll get into the meat of the session here this evening and look at these 5 drivers and how these drivers, as you develop these things and these skills, that you can really lift your game to a really another level. So Ali, if you would, come and share with us the 5 drivers.
Just a few pointers. As most of you said, I also read the book 20 years ago. And when my brother told me, he took the Dale Carnegie course in the early 90s, and he was always telling me, you should take this course, you should take this course. I said, are you kidding me? I'm now reading Heidegger and Kant, and I read Dale Carnegie 20 years ago. Does it have anything to give me at this time? I'm reading literary criticism. I mean, I wouldn't go back to Dale Carnegie course. And actually, when I took it, it was like putting into practice, and every week getting a case and going and applying it and come and give a report to 30 people that you don't know, which was for me a breakthrough. And any time, I mean, I've been assistant for five times, and I see people coming from the business environment, and you see the change during the like 8 weeks that people go through. And at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can take this course for free. I don't know if Mark is going to like it or not, but we'll discuss it. There are a couple of things that I wanted to say also regarding the stacks of the.
Yes.
I don't know. Well, I'll go through these a little bit later on. I prefer the content because it's usually literary class, and people are fascinated with history and you call it, I mean, literature and stuff. So I prepared the stack to say how we can think in terms of pictures rather than thinking linguistically, and how we can enhance our memory. Do you want me to go through that after you make your presentation?
You can do it now.
Yeah. So just to make a little bit of a literary and historical content in what we're doing, so we get away from the business world a little bit. I was reading an article, and I was supposed to send it to Shatat, who's an expert on fascism.
I'm not a fascist, but
he's not a fascist, but he's an expert on the history of fascism. And I was reading an article which was defining 14 points of fascism. And the person who studied Mussolini, Hitler, Suharto, and also Franco, and many Latin American countries. And he came up with 14 character features that all governments with fascist nature, they have these characteristics. Instead of telling you one by one what it is, I'm going to give you just 3 images. And you think about these 3 images, and then we're going to go through each one of them. The first image, you think of a soldier having a flag in his hand, and he's beating a human being with that flag. Okay? And around him there are a lot of men. There are a lot of men, and they're throwing darts at a picture. So you have the first image? Can we go through it? What was it?
A soldier.
A soldier?
Flag.
Having a flag?
Beating
someone? Around him?
Darting.
A lot of men throwing dart at a picture. That was the first image. The second image, in a prison room. There are 3 TV sets in front of each other. On one TV set, there's a religious man talking about religion. And on another one, there's a businessman talking about business deals and stuff. And the third one, somebody in a Halloween costume trying to scare people. That's the second image that you're going to have. And the third image is that 4 people standing 2 by 2. One politician and one businessman exchanging a bag of money, just a suitcase of money. And there are 2 others, one intellectual and a poor person. They're just screaming and nothing comes out. So you have the three images? Just to put it into a context to see what are these character features. The first one was a soldier. These governments, they were all very militaristic. It was really the military that was governing all walks of life. They had the flag, which means that they're extremely nationalistic. They had flags all over the place, sickly using flags all over the place. And they're reading the human being, the prevalence in terms of the violation of human rights. There was absolutely no respect for human rights. They were all people, men, standing there, screaming. By nature, they were very masculine. There were women, they didn't have any role in those governments. And they're throwing dart at the first picture. They always create a scapegoat, somebody to blame for all their misfortune. So these are the first 5 characteristics. And the next 4 is that it was in a prison room, which was media was extremely controlled. There was no freedom of expression in terms of media. Each TV is showing one picture, politics, businessman. They were closely linked with business, so business was very supportive of these governments, and they had very close ties with the government. They also had a religious person preaching. They had very close ties with religion. They used religion to justify themselves. And the Halloween costume is that they always very sickly concerned with their national security. They are always scaring people for just justifying whatever they do in terms of national security. And the last 4 is that they were very corrupted in terms of business, and they were very corrupted in terms of politics. Both never counted. There were deals always being made. Unions, the poor person, they yelled, but nobody was listening. And intellectuals, they were utterly disrespected. They had no respect for neither unions nor for the intellectuals. But there are 13 of them. And the last one, I didn't put it in these images. I'm sure you would remember one principle. People were willing to accept all kinds of atrocities done by the police just for the sake of ideology, just for the sake of patriotism or nationalism. They were willing to accept all kinds of atrocities. So that's the last quality of fascism, which is prevalent. In their case, it was basically what we call it nationalism, but in many cases it can be religion or it can be any other things. So I think with these 3 images, if we think in terms of pictures rather than linguistic, it would be much more easier to come up with all those sequence of, we don't have to push myself to remember these 14 characteristics, just thinking in terms of image, that would help me. I mean, I'm sure if I was just want to do it linguistically, going by one, I wouldn't be remembering the 14 things, but putting them in terms of the context, that would definitely help you to remember. So going back to 5 drivers of success, in French you say le moteur de succès. So like any plane, when they're going to take out, there are several engines that they have to work in order to plane to take off. So to get us succeed, and I'm going to define success a little bit further on to see what do we mean by success. So what are the ingredients that are important for us to succeed in what we're doing? And by the word success, I definitely do not mean getting rich quick or being affluent or being extremely famous. I mean, to me, to be success is to be able to accomplish what I put as a goal. So I can't be living in a 2.5 apartment, just have a good job, and I could consider myself a success. So success, as I understand it, well, it can be rich and famous, but that's not necessarily the case. It can be everyday person who's living their normal life. Just to be able to accomplish what we put ourselves as a goal. These are the 5 drivers that we are working in Dale Carnegie courses. And the first one is self-confidence. When it comes to self-confidence, we usually have ideas but we don't dare to go and share it with people. Just to have this extra guts and going and sitting down with that CEO of a company, how big they are, who cares? Having the the courage, the confidence to go and say, okay, that's the idea I have, and let's sit down and talk. This is one of the areas that we are going to be working on, let's say, the first 2 sessions. Putting goals ourselves and bringing up our confidence, working on that confidence, making sure what we have as a goal, go and accomplish it, and come and give a report to people. How did we perform? Definitely we're going to see how we can develop more confidence, and these are the areas we would be working on. The second thing, well, for those of us who have been in business long enough, we know how communication is really the key to survive, let alone succeed in business. I mean, all of us have to attend to networking groups, and as we did a little bit of a practice today, just being able to connect to the other. And obviously we have the chance to become, go and live in the beautiful chalet that you have up north and just forget about everybody and having no connection with people. But for those of us who want to really have a connection with someone, well, these are the tools that can help. I mean, I have attended many networking groups, and at the beginning I was just standing there and I was saying, how come nobody is coming and talking to me? And it's just a matter of practicing and going towards people and starting the communications and having things to say. And as I've done that, started actually to pay in terms of having better type of contacts, better type of, if I'm in business, to have better type of business associates. So the second element, after developing the confidence that we'll be working on, there will be other communications. The third element we work usually in these courses is human relation. Like the first one was self-confidence, and then connecting with others and really developing and creating a kind of rapport with the others. I mean, I hear times and time again people that they come at work and they're so stressed because of all the stress that's being created by the management, by the leaders of the company, that it becomes like a living hell in the office, working with certain people. So how can we are living half of our life at work, how can we make it more pleasant? How can we just have a more friendly environment at work, which ultimately it will help to have better results at the same time. So on the third level would be a kind of having better communication and better relationship with people at work. And then we go to leadership. Didn't know how many people they would like to improve their memory skills.
Actually, just before that, we will do the triangle.
Triangle of
success. Think of some of
the. In terms of, let's say, somebody you think of as a leader, personally, that you know someone who's a leader. Have somebody in your mind who you think is a successful person, who's a leader, that you personally know. What are the characteristics of that person?
Stubborn.
Stubborn.
Intelligent.
Intelligent.
Good mediator.
Good mediator.
Just coming back to the stubborn, when you say stubborn, what would be another,
Well,
how
maybe,
else can we say that?
something like, not hard working, but something like when they decide, they don't change it. I mean, I don't want to say it in a way that they don't ask other people's idea, but when they decide, they really go for it.
Can we use the word decisive, or no, decisive would be a sort of make a decision, but to stick to our decision.
Something like that.
Firmness, maybe?
Maybe.
Firmness, like a leader. So the person you were thinking of.
Determined.
Okay, firmness. Okay. Firm, yeah.
Machiavelli?
Machiavelli?
Just a little bit.
You want to explain it a little bit?
Want something and just arrange to go toward that idealism, but just but a little bit.
To get it regardless of the price you have to pay?
Somehow, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that I cannot say that Machiavelli doesn't make any sense, but it's more.
Risk taker, would that be a risk taker? Would that be part of it?
No, I think that somehow it can be determined as it is more determination, but
okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Ethical is not definitely the word, is it?
Pragmatic.
Pragmatic. I know what you mean.
He meant crook. So he meant crook.
Anything else?
Risk taker?
Risk taker.
Few more?
Self-esteem.
Confident?
Stratège, I do not know the term in English.
Strategic?
We can change the strategies from time to time, or just
It's like flexible. Is the word be flexible? Changing strategies.
Stratège.
Strategic thinker, is that what you mean? Or,
yeah.
Have good knowledge of different strategies and just maneuvering a little bit of different strategy.
good management skills, would that fall into that? Strategic skills?
Stratège. Yes,
yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. A couple more?
Few more?
Someone you know personally that you look at that person as a leader, someone you think is successful. What comes to mind as their traits or characteristics?
Good. Public relations.
Good public.
How do you say it?
Sociable.
Yeah, good communication skills.
Communication skills.
Sociable, good communication skills, yeah.
Motivational for other people.
What?
Motivational for other people.
Able to motivate people?
Yes.
Yeah. Good motivator.
Okay, I'll hear a couple more.
Polyvalent.
Polyvalent.
Versatile.
Versatile. Yeah, one more? 1, 2 more?
Originality, but it's kind of risk taker.
I'm sorry,
Originality?
Okay.
Yeah, which is almost a risk taker, but it's in a different way.
Okay. One last one.
Sense of predictability. Person who could anticipate the future. Maybe vision.
Yeah, so visionary, yes. Okay. Okay, I think that's.
Well, usually, as we are asking these questions, and people come up with the character features of the leaders, most of the time this is what happens. Most of the character features of individuals, like 80% of the characters goes to the personality and their ability to communicate, and really 15% of that is related to their knowledge and like character features, skills, and knowledge. Like knowledge goes really something like 15%, and the other 85% is really human skills and their character features that really makes them a leader. definitely the last driver, something is also very important, is the ability to control stress. I mean, for those of us who have lived the market conditions and the economic situation during the last couple of years, we know how stressful at work it is, and the ability to really master that stress, to live on what we call it a day-tight compartment, forget about the past and forget about the future, and do really what the right thing is today. And that's one of the areas that we will be working on those programs as well. There's, just to summarize what I've been saying, is really these courses are not about teaching people what to do, it's making them participate to certain activities. So the majority of part is really participation, and also it is very practical. These are the things that doesn't need really the rocket science type of knowledge. It's very practical and very things that we can use every day. It can be at work, it can be in our life, and it can be in our relationship. I attended a seminar a couple of weeks ago, and one of my friends was sitting beside me, and he just asked a question, and it was a kind of, well, disagreeing with one of the content of what the speaker said. And I was stunned by the way the question was handled. I said, if this person had just taken one of the sessions of being able to disagree agreeably, being to disagree, but not necessarily starting with, no, absolutely you're wrong, it makes no sense. I mean, just to start a little more, in a more friendly way. And I've seen people that really, they've spent their lifetime educating themselves, reading about particular area, and knowing all bolts and bits of a subject, but so poor in human relation, and just handling a simple question. So that's why they're very practical and positive. This is really, the courses are really concentrating on having a positive outlook. We usually start with the good news, so make sure that the starts positive and ends really positive. And some of the principles we go through, the positivity is really the #1 principle. And in order of making a permanent change, something, the change that becomes a part of our character, feature, something that is really, for me, is a lifestyle, something that you apply for a lifetime. It's not a gimmick that you learn to manipulate people. It's just a way of looking at things and a way of living. And definitely pushing comfort zone. We are comfortable in where we are living, just stretching this comfort zone and doing things that I usually don't do. And I tried it actually last week to push my comfort zone for the first time. I ordered pork. And it was not the best practice of pushing my comfort zone. Cycle of growth, and also this is something else we work on in terms of the cycle of growth. Usually when we learn things, it goes through a cycle.
And if you allow me, just before you explain the cycle, is anybody here, so we learned a few things, is anybody here would like to improve their memory? Raise a hand. Okay, let's say we gave you 25 objects, so maybe I can just work with you for a moment on this. Let's say we gave you 25 objects that were not connected and these random items, and we gave you about 5 minutes. How many of those 25 items do you think you could memorize?
Maybe 10.
About 10? And what do the rest of you think? How many do you think she could memorize roughly?
About 20.
20? Okay.
25. You said you.
You probably remember 30.
So we won't pick you then, okay? Someone else?
15, 10.
10, 15. Okay, why don't we, if you'll allow me, I'll just go out of the room for 5 minutes and just give you these objects, and let's see how she does. While we do that, Ali will talk about how our cycle performance in the Dale Carnegie process actually works, so that we can actually work at improving our performance. When he talks about the triangle of success over there that he mentioned, like when we say the knowledge piece at the bottom is 15%, that's the price of entry, right? Any industry you're in, any job you go to, any career path you take, if you don't have that basis, you can't get in. So that's your ticket in, your door. But once you're inside, as you sort of showed this evening, there is many studies out there. Harvard did a study a number of years ago on success and what makes people successful. And this wasn't a scientific message tonight, but what we found was that 85 to 90% of people's skills show up once they're in the workplace. And as Ali pointed out, it's our attitudes and our skills. And we see some of those things. We've thought about people that we know are successful, and those are the elements that make the difference. So how do we develop those things? How do we learn those things? And then how do we apply those things to get the results we're looking for in our careers? So that's the element that we're looking at. So please come out and we'll spend 5 minutes and see how we do. Thanks.
So as you leave, I might continue in Persian. بقیه رو به فارسی گدا بودم، باز همه لغت ها به انگلیسی میشه. So I might as well continue in English. So the first part is attitude. Really to be, what do I mean by attitude? Is really to be open to the process of learning. So I wanted to take some squash, starting to play squash. And the first thing is that one of my friends suggested, So, by attitude is just simply being open to participate, open to learn. So that the process can only start with the attitude of wanting to learn. Well, obviously the second part is knowledge. I mean, I might have an open mind to want to do something, but I really need the knowledge. For example, when my friend was suggesting me I should start playing squash, so I had an open mind to start, but I could have read all the books, and I mean, I needed that knowledge to how to hit the ball, and I needed to learn the procedure of the knowledge of and know-how of. Then obviously after the knowledge we needed to practice. So the practice of, I mean, I can read all the books of squash, but for as long as I do not get on the court and just start playing it and applying what I learned, can't get nowhere. So we go from practicing, and then obviously until such a time it becomes a habit. What we really do in the Dale Carnegie classes, usually going through these procedures in terms of human relationship. You get the knowledge. I mean, people participate, they get the knowledge, and then they get the proper coaching. Like during that 8th session, as I said, every week they have to go and practice something, and they get direct coaching, practicing and getting coaching at the same time to master those human principles. I might want to go through and also these are the 9 principles, human relation principles that we are applying like week by week. There are 30 of them. The first 9 is regarding really our way of communicating with others. The second 9 are about being able to create a rapport with other people. And the last set of 9, these are about leadership, how we can become good leaders at the organization that we're working. So during this 8th session, we go through these sets of principles and we try to apply them. So, as our courses usually is very interactive, we talked about 5 drivers of success, and we're just going to put ourselves in a group of 4. We're going to each discuss one of the principles, and we're going to say how those principles are going to help you at work, how the application of those. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 5 groups of 3. To wake you up. So we're going to put ourselves in 5 groups of 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? خوبه. 1 2 3. از همه بخوام بلند شیم. So we ended up having 4 groups. Who's going to start? What happened in your group? You want to tell us? What's yours?
Catastrophe. We always started with the negative points.
So what is your...
if somebody else wants to.
No, you go.
We have discussed several aspects of human relations. First of all, it was something that, for me and for some other persons, for all of us, was kind of negative experience of human relations when it comes to management stuff. And that was that you have talked about, and you have shown some elements about human relations. But for example, you know that if your manager smiles, or if, as you told, that he pushed his hand for just how is everything, is your wife better, or I don't know, all these questions. It's just for after all, it's the total turnover of the company at the end of the year. So for me personally, and for other person in our groups, but it's the same, that we do not. I cannot accept that as a human relation. These are the codes, and if you are a good manager, you know the codes. But after that, it was the point of view of our friends, I do not remember, K1, who told that it's, so imagine that it's not in a situation, for example, in a war, in your company, in entreprise, we do not even have that one, which means that no smile, no warm ambience, nothing at all. So it could be, imagine it can, we have been agreed somehow that, so it can be interesting to have these codes. And there was another thing that we have talked. Maybe if you explain about the experience of Google and just interiorizing the.
Yeah, but we talked that maybe if everything, these kind of codes makes everything more artificial. But then we got to the point that some sort of being more original, something like what Google or in Apple. The company is trying to have more kind of humankind relationship, more easygoing with the employees. It makes the company more successful, and actually more. It's a better picture of the company in public, because they have a better relationship with their employees. So now they are more popular. So it's this kind of having good relationship, good human relationship, it even works them, helps them to have a better output and be more successful.
Very good points. Actually, these principles, as we were speaking with Muhammad a bit earlier, if it is not internalized and it does not become a part of our character, it can be very superficial and it can backfire. Yeah. So if it's used as a gimmick to manipulate people, it won't work. It's only when genuinely you care for the other person that they really feel it. So it has to be internalized. Very good points. Thank you. The other group. Who wants to share what?
Well, it has still some controversy in our group. It's just that I believe, and I think I speak for the group partly actually, is that the core principle of your message was that 85% of all the characteristics that you mentioned.
I'm sorry, what principle did you refer to?
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence.
You said, for example, in leadership, 85% of these principles are traits of characteristics. So it's kind of approving the formula, the saying that says that the leader is born. So where is the point where you can acquire the knowledge necessary
in order to make a leader, or is it possible at all? And as my friend was saying, there are two kinds of confidence, the negative and the positive confidence. Okay, give you an example. Someone who gets out of an Ivy League school, okay, they think they can do better than anybody else. But once they really get down to the real work, they kind of screw up. And I have seen it in my line of work. You know, they come out of McGill Dental School and they say, "Oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We're going to, you know, do wonderful surgeries." But once they're with a patient, they can't do anything. See? So if it's taught, you know, you have to be self-confident. You have to do this. You know, it's not a package. You cannot transmit it like that to someone. It takes knowledge to some point, but sometimes you got to have it in yourself as well. I entirely agree with your, you know, pushing your comfort zone. And as I can see, you're doing a marvelous job tonight, you know, doing a speech in a foreign language, which is something, you know, to be applauded. But up to some point, you know, you can say that you got to have it in you somehow. This is...
Well, thank you for your inputs. And I believe when we are saying that these character features, this does not mean necessarily that they're innate. They can be acquired as the same as knowledge. The knowledge, we go to university to acquire it. But human relations, we don't go to any particular school to learn it. But there are possibilities to acquire those human characteristics, those leadership principles. And with regards to the self-confidence, I do agree with you that if it's a false self-confidence, it actually can be very dangerous.
It can backfire, actually.
Yeah, but a lot of places that you see people have such a fabulous ideas, but they never dare to share. I mean, times and times again, you sit in a meeting and people, they just don't talk, but they have fabulous ideas. How can we come up with that guts? Speak up. You know things that they're wrong. We don't necessarily stand up and say that's wrong. Where do we get that extra guts to stand up and really say it? And these can be very, I mean, not doing it can be very detrimental for the company, and doing it can actually advance and get us to the goals. Thank you for your points. Next week.
Well, we were talking about different issues, and one of them was we were thinking if we see communication as a also quantitative rather than qualitative. Like quality is important, but sometimes you need to communicate for the sake of communication. Like at work, it says sometimes you don't need to ask everybody like, did you get my email, or whether we can just email people and just remain silent. But sometimes just communication makes people to feel a real human relation between people, like members of the group, or they remember you. Like we remember not only like good people among our friends, like old friends. We remember people who talk a lot, not a lot. I mean, people who communicate. So sometimes communication is necessary, even if we don't see the necessity of really communicating to transmit information. We already have the information, but we go and communicate just to communicate as bringing human relations into business affairs that are already done with digital communication or something.
Well, thank you for your inputs, and my experience with the communication is that for those of us who are in sales, I have noticed so many times I sit down with a client and I explain to them what I'm proposing to them, let's say in terms of either investments, retirement plans and stuff. And as I go back and ask them, okay, tell me what is it that I told you, just to make sure that they understand. I mean, you hear things that you don't believe that you really said it. And it just shows how important it is to make sure that the communication process is done properly and make sure that the other person understood what you said. And just we assume that whatever I said, it was clear for me, so it should be clear for them. And a lot of misunderstandings at work with clients is really miscommunication. And that's something to add to your points. Thank you. Our last group.
Yeah, we had leadership, and we kind of tried to divide the impact of a good leader into 3 categories. The first one is the results or the goal. So a good leader is someone who can define an overall.
You speak up.
Yes. Sorry about that. A good leader is someone who can define a goal for the team, and as the definition of leadership on your PowerPoint said, to take people somewhere that they wouldn't go by themselves. So that's being results oriented, and that was the first factor. The second one is related to processes and decision making. A good leader is someone who can define the step-by-step process to divide the tasks between the team members and to prioritize whatever that has to be done. And the third factor is the communication. So someone who can create team bonding activities between his or her team members and to